the Utah Tech football Tuesday press conference ahead of this Saturday's game against Northern Arizona in Greater Zion Stadium. Kickoff set for 7 p.m. Game will be streamed live on ESPN Plus. Also, will air live on the radio on the Fan Sports Network, 99.5 FM in St. George. A couple of game notes. This is the first ever trip for the Lumberjacks to St. George to face the Trailblazers. The series is tied at 1-1, including a 50-36 Utah Tech win last year in Flagstaff. Program's first ever win against the Big Sky Conference school. And we will now turn time over to Coach Anderson for an opening statement and then questions for Coach.
Well, first off, we're looking forward to playing another real quality opponent this week. It has been a tough test early on with, Montana State, UNLV, and now a quality Big Sky team in Northern Arizona. They really played Arizona tough last week, having the lead at halftime and, really played against a quality opponent, played some really good football. We're looking to really make another jump this week in terms of our execution. I know the score last week really didn't indicate it, but there were some positive things. I think there were some things that we improved on, and we see that we're getting closer. It's just we need to take another big jump in terms of our execution, and we're looking forward to that opportunity this week against NAU.
Go ahead, Mitch.
Oh, well, I was going to defer to the voice of the Trailblazers, but thank you for the opportunity. Coach, again, thank you for your valuable time this morning. This is the second of 6 matchups between the Trailblazers and the Lumberjacks, a nice long home-and-home series between two teams that geographically are a good fit for something like this, at least from my perspective they are. A bus ride for both teams. Talk a little bit about that issue and the series between the two teams. And from your perspective, do you like that? Is that something that you feel is a good thing for your program?
I do. I think there is that geographic, rivalry a little bit. And it's another quality opponent for us coming from the Big Sky Conference. We know that's really going to test us and help us evaluate where we are and where we need to go. So we're looking forward to that challenge. Also, something we want to do here is we want to get into Arizona more in terms of recruiting. And I think playing teams from Arizona help us do that. I think there's a lot of talent in the state of Arizona. During my time at Stanford, I recruited Arizona almost the entire time I was there. And there is some really good football being played there in the high schools. And we want to get more Arizona kids on our roster. So I think that's another real positive with having, NAU on the schedule for an extended period of time.
Coach, you mentioned briefly you had an opportunity, obviously, to really break down the film with NAU at Arizona last Saturday and talked about how NAU played the Wildcats in Tucson really, really well, especially, I would say, on the defensive side for the Lumberjacks. Just give us a little bit more of a breakdown from your perspective on what you see with NAU. It's an interesting matchup because with 2 new head coaches, a lot of new players on both rosters. So there's not a ton of continuity between last year's 2 teams and this year's 2 teams. How do you see NAU?
So first off, you're exactly right, Mitch. I think they have played very well on defense these first 2 games. And I think it was very impressive, what they did against, Arizona, a top 20, football team. They play hard. They're very sound. They're physical. And it was very impressive what they did. I think on the offensive side of the ball, too, they got some very good football players, starting with the quarterback, Pennington. I think Fleming is a, very good receiver. Looks like Lanier is very fast. Good group of running backs, some solid offensive linemen. Some of those guys are guys that we tried to recruit, free us from the portal that, we played against at Stanford when he was at Arizona State and then tried to recruit from Utah State. So I think they've got some really good football players on both sides of the ball. I think they're very well coached and they're playing very well.
Coach, one final question for me, and then I'll let my esteemed colleagues here on the Zoom call take over the time. But just talk a little bit in a kind of 36,000 foot level sense of what it is that you want to see Utah Tech football become moving forward in the future, as this is your first year, an opportunity to lead in a Division I FCS program. What do you want to see Utah Tech kind of move and how in the direction of championship type football in St. George?
We want to be a top flight, top level FCS football program, similar to what we see, with a lot of the big sky schools. I think, there's a lot of quality football being played in the UAC. And I mean, we want to get to the point where we're at the top of that league. I mean, it's very evident these first 2 weeks that we have, work to do. I mean, our roster needs development just in terms of speed, size, strength. Our execution needs to be better, but that's what we're aiming towards. And I think there are a lot of positives here in St. George. It's a growing community. The university is growing. Facility wise, they've done some great things in the stadium. We've got a tremendous locker room, great weight room that was just finished before. So I think there's a lot of attractive things here that we can recruit to. But again, we just need to continue to develop and build our roster. But I really feel like we can build a top FCS level football program here.
Coach, thank you so much for your time. I deeply appreciate that, and I'll turn the floor over to either Devin or Rod for the next series of questions. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Why, thank you, Mitch. You're so kind. Hey, Coach, when you look at the score and you look at the stats, you can't sugarcoat it. However, the improvement, you've got to think about some positives, and there were some positives and improvements from game one. Can you talk about those and what you want to expand and convert those positives for this week?
Especially starting on the offensive side of the ball, I think there were a lot of positives. I mean, there were a lot of steps in the right direction where we converted some more first downs, we sustained some more drives. We had the big play early in the game for a touchdown. Had a couple other productive drives. And I think you saw there on film too, there are a lot of opportunities, whether it's we're one block away, we're a drop, pass away, a little bit better execution, a little bit better throw, a little bit better route. We're close. The thing that's frustrating is that it might just be, especially on that side of the ball, one or two guys on each play. And, if not for that, we could have, a big play. Defensively, again, I think it was a tough matchup for us. We did not tackle well. We were not as physical as we needed to be, but UNLV is a quality opponent. We need to learn from that, and we need to understand, what it takes to be successful just in terms of our fits, our physicality, just the fundamentals of tackling. So I think there are things we can build on, but it was, obviously the score was very disappointing. The results were very disappointing, but, we got to focus on the things that we can control and, get better in those areas.
Coach, after 2 weeks of just amazing opponents, what have you learned, and how can you take what has happened the last 2 weeks to improve and to, be more successful from here on out?
In terms of long term, I think it's very eye-opening to our players of the level of development, the level of commitment that is required to get to a place where Montana State is or UNLV is, just in terms of our strength, our physicality, our toughness, our speed. So that really is a model for our guys of what we need to be working towards. And also, I think just for the here and now, what it shows us is for us to be competitive in football games, we've got to be at our very best. We have got to be able to execute. We've got to be able to do our job. We've got to be able to trust what we've done in practice, trust what we've been coached in terms of technique and fundamentals, and be able to take that to the field on game day. And, we've got to be able to execute to have any chance to be competitive in games. So I think it's been a good learning lesson. And, I look forward to us continuing to get better throughout the season.
Devin,
I think you're muted. Devin, I think you're muted. Okay, I got.
Coach,
Yep, I got
question for you on the quarterbacks. Is Deacon Hill QB1? No questions asked right now, and you'll keep using Reggie in the same capacity as we've seen the last 2 weeks.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think Deacon has established himself as the starter. He's QB1 right now. I mean, we want him going into games, not feeling that pressure of, being removed or taken out. Want him to be able to get into a rhythm, be able to make those throws and, make the right decisions. And I think he's done a good job of that. But we do have two other quarterbacks that have talent, and so we're trying to find ways to use them. I think, Reggie brings a dimension when he comes in the game, and he's getting better and better as a quarterback and be able to run the whole system. With Luke McPhail, it's been hard. I don't think he's had a great opportunity yet in the drives that he's had. But we know he's proven in practice he's a quality quarterback as well. So we'll continue to try to find spots for those guys. But yeah, Deacon is the starter.
Is there any other position battles that have changed where guys have just fought and won jobs? Maybe some guys that we haven't noticed as much through the media that have been continuing to do some good things in practice, and you got to find some reps for them in a game.
There certainly are, and there are a lot of competitions going on, and certainly you don't notice that as much as you do at the quarterback position. But on the offensive line, we're still needing to get a lot better there, and so there's a lot of competition going on. And you see young guys like Jacob Zarate that might get a chance. You've seen Logan Hicks get some snaps, early in the season. We're going to continue to roll guys through there, because we need guys to continue to develop and step up at that position. On the defensive side, we've seen a lot of competition. The corner spot opposite of Scooter Jackson, you've seen both Amari Duncan and Jaden Sheridan get reps, and they've had a heck of a battle there. At outside linebacker, you've seen a number of guys rotate through, and you see Amari Pouncey, Fisher Jackson, Will Olivow, Elijah Wood, Rick Mwae, all getting reps and all fighting for playing time there. Unfortunately, at the safety position, we've had a ton of injuries, and that's where guys like, Micah Gardner, stepped up last week and had some quality reps. And, depending on who's available this week, he may have to have a bigger role this week. With the injuries we've had at inside linebacker, and with Jared Fotu and Jaron Polu still being question marks this week, Malachi Fakahua, Jay Sweeten, Carson Patterson, those guys are getting reps. So there's a lot of competition going on, and we need to continue to build that depth to be able to play at the level that we would like.
Yeah, Coach, you mentioned it just a little bit. You were banged up after the first game, missing at least 6 contributing players for UNLV. Did you come out of this game with the Rebels fairly healthy?
Unfortunately, probably not. And there's still a number of probably more guys that are question marks this week. So through 2 practices this week, our Monday and Tuesday practice, there's still been several guys who have not been able to go, not been cleared yet. So that's why, like a lot of those guys that I mentioned, I could throw the defensive line in there as well, where guys need to step up. And so it's gonna, we'll see how the week goes, and we'll see who's available. But we talked a lot about it last week, and it will definitely carry over this week with that next man up mentality, that whoever that is that gets that opportunity, here's their opportunity to really step up and show what they can do. And our expectations for them are going to be that they have got to play hard with phenomenal effort, and they've got to be able to step in and execute.
Thanks, Coach. That's all I have. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, if there are no other questions for Coach, we will conclude today's press conference. And if that's the case, we will see you all on Saturday night in St. George.